On Saturday, March 8th, St. Lucia will join the global community in observing International Women's Day, a day which originated from hundreds of years of struggle for women's equality and gender equity. It is also a time when we stop to acknowledge the value of women's contribution and commitment to creating strong families, secure communities, and a peaceful and socially just world. As Minister with responsibility for gender relations, I'm indeed honored to extend best wishes to all the women and girls of St. Lucia on this very special occasion. We are all inspired by the women who have been able to transcend countless challenges to realize their full potential as partners in the economic and social development of our country. We are also inspired by the support and commitment of men in the quest for social justice, for it is only with the full and equal participation of both men and women can any real progress be achieved. While we acknowledge that important strides have been made towards women's equality, inequalities still exist in many areas. This International Women's Day presents another opportunity to focus global attention on areas of continuing discrimination and persistent injustices. The theme, Inspiring Change, not only encourages advocacy for women's advancement, but it also calls for challenging the status quo for women's equality and continued vigilance to inspire positive change. This is not a challenge for just a few. Each and every one of us can be advocates for social justice and promoters of human rights. As we take responsibility for creating the change we want in our country and the world, we must start with ourselves as individuals, taking control of our health and well-being. Recent surveys indicate that our St. Lucian women are being increasingly affected by chronic non-communicable diseases that can cause long-term debilitation or sudden death. Many of these diseases, such as obesity, diabetes, and hypertension, can be prevented by practicing healthy lifestyle behaviors. This International Women's Day, I encourage all women to be inspired to make that lifestyle change and commit not only to making yourselves healthier, but also to doing all that you can to raise healthier families. Violence against women continues to be a major challenge. Far too many women and families are affected by some form of gender-based violence, in particular domestic violence. Victims continue to suffer in isolation and silence. This International Women's Day, be inspired to break the silence of violence. My St. Lucian sister, whether you are a victim, survivor, or perpetrator, you must seek help. There are agencies to assist and support you to make what could be a life-saving change. In an effort to improve the state's response to gender-based violence, my ministry will focus renewed attention on the prevention of violence against women with men as partners and by engaging and educating students on this issue. St. Lucia, through the Division of Gender Relations, is participating in an OECS project entitled Evaluating National Initiatives and Producing Comparative Data on Violence Against Women for the OECS states. This 2-year project aims to facilitate evidence-based, empirical approaches to advancing policy making and improving programmatic actions. It will also contribute to a more effective response in eradicating violence against women and girls in the OECS sub-region. National machineries of the OECS and policymakers will be able to use the data to identify and address gaps at the national level. The project will also produce original, empirical, comparative data on domestic and sexual violence against women to provide policymakers with current data on the characteristics, incidence, and prevalence of violence against women for future strategic actions. We must also be inspired on this International Women's Day and beyond to change the beliefs and behaviors that continue to present barriers to women's political participation and other leadership roles. Promoting the empowerment of women through political participation is key to achieving a more equitable distribution of power and resources in any society. Despite advancements made by women in the political arena in recent times, they remain grossly underrepresented as elected members of parliament in nearly every country. According to the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, women in politics and decision-making positions in government and legislative bodies contribute to redefining political priorities, placing new items on the political agenda that reflect and address women's gender-specific concerns, values, and experiences, and providing new perspectives on mainstream political issues. Without the active participation of women and the incorporation of women's perspective at all levels of decision-making, the goals of equality, development, and peace cannot be achieved. The government of St. Lucia remains committed to facilitating the necessary processes to increase women's participation at all levels of decision-making. As we move beyond this year's observance, we must continue to be vigilant to ensure that the state remains committed to providing opportunities for the advancement of all women and girls. Individually, each one of us must make it our responsibility to advocate for the changes we want reflected in our society. Remember, everyone can be an advocate for the advancement of women and girls. Mwen ka pon l'okasyon sa la a sou Journée Internationale pou Femme pou souhaiter toute femme et ti fi St. Lucie bon félicitations. Mwen ka encourage yo pou kontine débrouiller pour la vie ou et toujours mette bon Dieu, santé ou, famille ou et pays ou devant. On behalf of the government of St. Lucia, and in particular, the Ministry of Health, Wellness, Human Services and Gender Relations, I wish all women and girls of St. Lucia a happy and memorable International Women's Day, and to congratulate Laverne Spencer, who qualified for the finals in the International Association of Athletics Federation World Championship in Poland. I thank you.